go ahead and get started with our end of month training. I put together something short, fast, fun, which I should have had up that entire time, but I didn't. This isn't any big, giant presentation. I just feel you should have one. And got to start off with we're on a mission to lead the world in creating financially successful communities that excel in providing rewarding living, learning, and career experiences. And of course, we have to do that through proper reporting and many other things. Let's start off with the location to download your end of month checklist. Every single month, I recommend going into the Academy, using the global search and search for end of month. And then the end of month checklist will appear as one of the options below in the global search. I do recommend downloading it monthly because we make updates to it. And if you submit a outdated one, you know, the world stops and spins backwards. So I always recommend downloading one each and every single month, just in case there are changes to it. The process of the end of month checklist, and on the right hand side, we have an example of a blank end of month checklist. The way this little guy works is each box has a task or a report to run or something to verify and confirm. And then the ABCs listed below it. So we've got box number 1, and then that's a report. And then the ABCs each identify the report location, the parameters, how to pull that report, and then the result that you're either looking for or need to analyze, or if there's additional actions that are required, those will identify what those actions will need to be. So that's the general setup of the way this checklist works. And then once you go through the entire checklist, which we will do together here, once you go through the entire checklist, you do have to upload the checklist to a particular location. And that location is in your SharePoint site. Each year has an identified month where you'll upload that checklist to. And then the property accountant will ask that they are notified somehow. So you'll want to work with the property accountant. Do they want to fax? Do they want to scan in an email? And then so you'll work with the property accountant individually how they are to be notified. So that is that for right now. And I'm going to use the cottages of Baton Rouge. They're not on the phone, so they can't argue. I have an end of month checklist that I pulled up here. And if you guys are interested in grabbing an end of month checklist off the Academy now and working through this together at the same time, so we can we can essentially all be doing it at the same time together. I dig it. I'm down. Let's do that. So if you want to do that, or if it's better for you just to watch and follow along and do it later by yourself, whatever works for you works for me. So we're gonna do this. The property name is and today it's me. All right, so number 1, we need to confirm that there are no required tasks pending, and the report that we're looking for is the pending tasks report found on page 2 of the management leasing and rents reports. So that's kind of going backwards, and with one site, we're going to go reports and then management, page 2. And then we're going to generate this pending tasks report. So here's the report. I'm going to click generate to generate. Now, each report has specific parameters how the end of month report should be generated, and each are identified in that checklist, not that, in the checklist here. So for this one, the parameters, the start date should be the first day of the month, and the end date is going to be the last day of the month. So we'll dump that in here as 12/1, 12/1, 16, 12/31, 6. Oh, there's not 13 months. There we go. All right, so once we do that, we'll hit generate. I actually ran this morning. So that's the ideal parameter for the pending tasks report. And for Baton Rouge, this is what the report will look like. And I'm going to break my own rule and ask for, I'm going to ask for questions or answers. Is that too big, too small? Has 125 zoom? Should it be bigger? Should it be smaller?
Looks good
Is
to
it
me.
awesome? Okay, I didn't know if it was the Goldilocks just right. um, all right, so here's our pending tasks, and the reason and thank you guys very very much. The reason why we do have the pending tasks report generated is because the property date, this guy up here, if there are tasks that are required tasks, it will prohibit the property accountants from advancing the date. Some of those required tasks are move-ins, move-outs, and there's a handful of others. Pending final account statements being closed. Final account statements are often referred to as SOTAs, the security statement deposit audit, I forget. The SOTAs, final account statements. Any of those tasks will prohibit the property accountant from being able to advance into the next period. So we do need to confirm that there are no pending tasks that are required. So in this instance, we would have to make sure that these folks, these move-ins for 12/30, Jade Singleton, we need to either adjust her move-in date to a future date or move her in if she actually picked up keys. It's quite possible, and actually she probably prohibited the date from advancing last night. Yes. So that's exactly what happened here is last night the date didn't advance to today because of these pending tasks, and actually it would have been because of these two guys here. And so we need to, if Andrea picked up keys yesterday, and let's say it was that fantastic situation where it was, 5:58 and she came to pick up her keys and you're like, oh, I'll just move her in tomorrow. It's fine. It's no big deal. Move her in, you can wait. Your leasing report would not update because it updates overnight with the advancement of the property date, but we just need to move her in or change her move-in date. If she ended up not moving in on the 29th, we need to adjust her move-in date to the date that she said she was going to move in, or a future date, or worst case scenario, put her back on the wait list. You do have the option on an applicant's account to waitlist an applicant where they're no longer assigned to a particular unit, and then she would not be a required move-in task. So this report needs to be reviewed for those required tasks. Leases expiring are not required. That's just like a hey notification that this is going to be happening. So the move-ins and move-outs are required tasks. All right, so that's number one, and I am going to put like if an ideal report would be blank. So I would identify any comments here and then initial in this comment box as well. Yay, no required tasks pending. And number 2, all leasing activity has been completed. This one, it comes from the pending tasks report as well. And that you'll want to review with the same exact parameters that we used to run the above tasks, and just make sure that there's no pending tasks. So you would take that same report, the pending tasks, and review it for any leasing information, the move-ins, move-outs, and then identify that there was no required tasks. Okay, I feel like that makes sense. All right, so we'll do no required tasks. And initial. All right, number 3, all late fees have been posted. This one actually doesn't come from a report, so we're going to navigate to administration, leasing reports, frequent accounting, and post late charges. That one goes like this: administration, frequent accounting, post late charges. The post late charges utility will appear, and if there are any outstanding charges that are about to post, they would list in this list. But since there are no items to post, we're good. We can mark that one off. So we're going to hit cancel, and then back on our checklist, I say no late fees pending. And initial that one. All right, so that one's good. Back to a report. Our next step, box number 4, is to review the gain loss to lease. And that one is found in the lost rent summary report. And so that is going to be reports, accounts receivable, and then our lost rent summary. I'm going to generate that one. The parameters to use are identified as the fiscal period, should be the current AR period. So that's that. Cool. It's already on the current fiscal period, which is December. And then we're going to generate that one. And I actually pulled that one last night, so I'm going to pull that one up here. All right. So once this lost rent report comes up, it kind of is a lot of numbers and a lot of decimal places, and you're kind of like, where do I even start? With the report, you'll want to look for amounts that are greater than $200 a unit. And so for that, that is the loss gain column, which is this column here. Actually, let me make that a little bit bigger for you. What was that magic number, 125? There we go. So this loss gain column here, $53. Okay, there is a number there, but it's less than 200, so we can skip past that and go all the way down and look for anything that's greater than $200, which I don't think I saw. Oh, I did. I missed one. Okay. So, can I do that by the time? Yeah. So, Brooke, she does have a gain greater than $200, and there might be a total. Go ahead, Alex.
Hi. Yes, I'm going to actually interject on this one a little bit.
Do it.
Okay, so actually that's actually a loss. If you notice, the gain numbers are in parentheses. And this is a really good report for you guys. And I want to sort of just touch a little bit on how important this report is, because it literally tells you every individual thing that happened on everybody's unit for the month. You see your market rents, you see the lease rent, which is what you guys enter in the scheduled billing area. So if I was looking at Brooke Canatella, I would see that she doesn't have any lease rent set up, and she also has not had any rent charged, because you see in the third column it says 0. And so of course it's recognizing a loss, and I would be looking at that to see if perhaps maybe we didn't charge the rent when we moved Brooke in. And so basically this is kind of your really big report where you can review everything and make sure everybody's been charged rent. They were moved in, the schedule billing has been set up. And so I really want to sort of emphasize how important that report is. The accountants will review this information at pre-close and sort of draw attention to any of these for you guys, but I would definitely say that you could run this as well when you're sort of trying to prepare for month end. But I think that this is the to me, as far as reviewing the information, this is the report that really gives you like the grand overview of what happened in your property for the month. So I would definitely spend a good amount of time making sure that all of that makes sense, because I would say that maybe shouldn't have been charged rent. Maybe her rent charges don't technically start till January, but only you know that. We're going to ask you about it, but you guys are the experts. So we want to make sure that you take care of all of those that exceed $200. That's accurate, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So
I love
okay,
it.
I'll turn that back up to you. Thank you.
No. I absolutely want you to. And the only thing I'll add on is, just because there is a number here greater than 200, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It could absolutely be correct. Like if somebody transferred and the entire amount was booked to their old unit but not to their new unit, there would show as a loss in the new unit, but the gain was in the old unit. So a number here does not mean something's wrong. It just means that something occurred, or there might be a loss gain. So I want to make sure that to relay that as well. Okay.
And the loss gain calculation is the difference between what we charge for rent and the market rent. And so for this particular person, this Brooke person, if you notice, their market rent is $634, and we haven't charged any rent, but it's, recognizing a $409 loss. And that's because she was only there from the 12th to the 31st. So the system thinks that we should have charged about $409 worth of rent for the month based on the market rent for the time that she occupied the space. So that's kind of how those calculations happen. And you just want to make sure that that makes sense. I know that a lot of times we don't prorate rent, so that's sort of when you have that, it might calculate something big because, there's a partial, occupancy for the month and you charge an entire month's rent, and that's pretty normal. And that's fine, just as long as what you're charging them is correct and accurate to what their lease says. Okay.
Love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Perfect. All right. And comment along like all loss gain. Here is why. More details, more better. No such thing as TMI in the comments.
Could be.
All right. And verify rent roll detail. Okay, the rent roll detail. It's on page 2 of our management section. The great rent roll detail. So we'll generate rent roll detail. And for this one, we just want to use the default parameters. So however it pops up, you just hit generate. You can be totally lazy with that report. And that one I ran last night. And here's this one. So for this rent, well, actually, I'll leave it up there for a second. So the rent roll detail is this report, provides all sorts of information about the property's current occupancy, and then also any future occupancy changes like pending renewals or if you have pending applicants, vacancies. The rent roll detail for no other purpose serves as it serves a lot of purposes, but it should be a 100% accurate reflection of the exact heartbeats that are on the property. So Brianna should be in 1101A and occupied. This should match real life exactly. And some of the things that you're going to review on this are, where did my checklist go? There it is. You're going to confirm the occupancy numbers, the lease rent, the deposit ledger balances as well. So all that's pretty much towards the bottom here. And let's start with the occupancy numbers. So the occupancy numbers, and I just went straight to the very last page on this report is how I got here. And in this one, it shows that we have a total occupied units of over 1,000, occupied not leased, on notice to vacate, leased, vacant leased, admin down, vacant not leased, for a grand total of 1,290. Good gracious, that's a lot of beds. So the report says, confirm that these are correct. How do you know these are correct? You know when they're wrong, right? So make sure that they are accurate and reflection of the heartbeats that you have in the property and the ones that don't have heartbeats either, the vacants. Lease rent. All right, so our lease rent is up a little bit further. That is at the bottom of the itemized report here. So we're all the way at the bottom of the list of people. The lease rent column is closer to the right-hand side, and that is this amount. So you're looking at this big giant, $670,000. Well, how do I know if that's right or not? You'll want to review each of the rents for these folks, for each of the residents, for accuracy. So for example, if you ever see a rent that was like $40 or $10 or just some or $8,000, we probably won't charge in person $8,000 rent. So you'll want to review each of the lease rents to make sure that the lease rents are correct. The rent is very, very important. The ancillary charges, utilities are important as well. Furniture, what would be another? Pet rent. Make sure that the pet rents are accurate as well. Like we're not charging someone $300 a month for pet rent, whereas that should have been their one-time fee is the $300. So review the lease rent for accuracy. And then after you've done that, you want to make sure the deposit and ledger balances are correct. And those are even more over to the right-hand side here. This is our deposit on hand. They have $10,000 of deposits on hand. How do we know if that's correct? We'll scroll through and check over the numbers individually and make sure that those are correct. So even this, if we are only charging $100 for security deposits and this person has 150, oh wait, it's a pet rent, so that's probably accurate. Okay, moving on. So that's just make sure everything is correct. The
Hey, Kim.
balance, yes.
Yes. So I think that one of the things that I would like to point out for the folks that obviously just started with us from ACC is that our rent roll is very different from ACC's in that we do not reflect the actual rent charges that were posted for the month in the report. So when you see lease rent, what you're looking at is what's set up as scheduled billing for the individual. So if you want to see, if you want to make sure that it's correct and you want to fix it, maybe they don't have the right lease rent entered, then you want to go over to their scheduled billing to make the correction. So you just go to their ledger and that very first tab, you'll see the summary one at the very bottom, and that's going to be where your scheduled billing is set up. And if it's wrong, that's where you go to fix it. The lost rent summary report that we just looked at earlier, that's the one that actually shows you everything, where you see the market rent, where you see the lease rent, which is your scheduled billing, and then you'll see actual rent charges, which was actually what happened for the month. So I just want to make sure that that's clear, because I know that when we were doing the setup, we had to actually ask for additional reports, because when we wanted to set up your scheduled billing, the ACC rent roll actually just shows what was actually charged for the month, and that's not always the same thing, especially if adjustments are being made or somebody was just recently set up. So I just wanted to point that out as well.
Love it. No, thank you, thank you, thank you. It makes total sense. And great point. Uh, all correct. Me. All right, next up, here's some of our fun ones, some of our doozies. So we have a delinquent and prepaid report. The delinquent and prepaid report can be found in the accounts receivable on page 1. And that is our delinquent and prepaid report. I'm going to hit generate, and the report parameters that I want to pull are the default parameters. So nothing fancy here. And just hit generate. And I actually pulled that one last night as well. Delinquent and prepaid. All right. So you'll pull up the report, go straight to the bottom, all the way to the end, and you're going to want to take a look at these numbers down here. So we have grand total prepaid and then grand total delinquent. You'll want to confirm that those totals are equal to the net prepaid. The blue and the blue are both prepaid. The yellow and the yellow are both delinquent. Yay, pretty colors. And so you want to make sure that those two numbers that are color coded here, your report will not be color coded. You'll want to do the prepaid here to the net prepaid and the net delinquent to the grand delinquent to the net delinquent. If those numbers don't match, which in this case they don't, that means that there is a applicant or a resident or someone on this list that has both a delinquent and prepaid. And we'll want to make sure that those numbers, the color-coded ones that we see here, always match. And if they don't, we'll have to identify why someone has both delinquent and prepaid. And that is, I just happened to have noticed who it was, if I can remember how to spell their name. There we go. Hunter. So this is one of the causes for that is Hunter. See how with Claire, she has a $26 prepaid and 0 delinquent. Same with Amanda, 7 something for prepaid and 0 for delinquent. Alex says the opposite. He has a delinquent and no prepaid. That's ideal. That's what we want, is they should always have one or the other. They should never have both a total prepaid and total delinquent. So let's take a look at Hunter's account and see why the heck that's happening. and see if there's any other way that that could also be noticed prior to end of month. So if you happen to open up someone's account, and I know it hasn't popped up yet, but on the top left-hand side, their balance is in red. That's an indicator that they have both a prepaid and delinquent amount. And if I hold my mouse over the balance, I hover it there, it even says the prepaid amount and prepaid delinquent. So what the heck do we do? Well, head over to the ledger, and my secret weapon for this is there's this open only checkbox. Click the open only checkbox and it'll isolate just the delinquent and prepaid amounts. So we can see here was a payment that was made and a rent payment, and for some reason they're just not talking to each other and allocating the entire check to this rent amount. One of the easiest ways to fix this is, and this is sometimes there, Kim, why did it happen? I just put in the payment. Who knows? There's sometimes there's just like a solar moon, or a sunspot or something, or and it actually is. It's not sprites and fairies. There are some systematic reasons why this occurs occasionally, but one of the main reasons, or one of the primary things I like to do to try and fix this is just click View next to the rent, open it up, hit Edit, and then just hit Post and see if that will kind of reset the transaction and fix it. I don't know if it did. Okay. And so I call it a reset, where it just kind of resets that transaction code. If you do perform that and see how it's no longer red up here, if you perform that and it still is red, or you still have 2 lines here when open only is enabled, there is something else that has to be identified for the reason why the 2 codes are not applying to each other. An example would be an employee credit cannot book against a utility charge. We have the system designed where those 2 are not allowed to apply to each other. And so that might be the reason. And so we would need to look at them individually and identify the reason why. So now if we run that delinquent and prepaid, and I'm pretty sure that was the only one, if we run that delinquent and prepaid, those totals should now match and have an equal value. And again, just the default parameters for that report. And it's going to take a hot minute to run because they have 1,000 beds. I can't even conceive of that many beds. So that's one thing you'll want to look for. And then once we open, jump all the way to the bottom. And do they match now? And they match now. So this is an ideal report where the grand prepaid matches the net prepaid and the grand delinquent matches the net delinquent. The end of month checklist does ask us to put in those details here. So the total delinquent is this, and the total prepaid is, let's just put that in the wrong spot. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's the same number. Haha. Okay. And total prepaid is this amount. Beautiful. All right. So that is our delinquent and prepaid report. Now, that seemed kind of simple. Oh, I just need to make sure those 4 numbers match. Well, no problem. Well, there's always more. You'll want to review the report to make sure that it's right. Is $26 correct for Claire? $4,000, is that right? So just definitely give this report a good hearty one over, as they say, for accuracy. Make sure that the codes are correct all the way down at the bottom. Let me jump all the way down there and make your guys' eyes reset wildly with how fast I'm going. And if you see some random code here that what the heck is this code or that code, then you'll want to identify that within the report, within the list of people. Or, if you say you have an attorney fee and you're like, I didn't affect anybody. Why did I have an attorney fee, a delinquent balance there? So make sure that this is correct as a report in whole, in addition to just those numerical values as well. All right. Next is number 7, our ending balances our resident summary
Oh,
balances report.
Kim,
Yeah,
Kim,
Alex.
sorry.
Yeah,
There's a step in there that we didn't look at, the miscellaneous income ledgers and the non-resident account balances.
I knew that. I just wanted to make sure you didn't hit mute and walk away.
I'm on my way.
um,
It's Friday.
no. Um,
Kim,
yes.
if I could get the LinkedIn profile number to see the page that you
I
become.
have no idea what you're talking about. Wait, what?
It's asking me for your conference profile page to log in.
Mm,
I
you
clicked on the
should
link.
just click the link.
I can't see anything.
Um,
It's
is
asking
this
me,
Miss?
this is Sherry.
Okay.
When I click on the link, it's asking me to use my LinkedIn profile. It says Uber conference, and it says that I need to use my LinkedIn profile.
No.
I don't know
Now,
why.
I don't mind admitting, and I will ask the other folks who are on with us. I've only ever logged in as a host, and so I haven't logged in as a participant before.
I don't think you should put your, it says you can use your LinkedIn profile. I think you can just put your name and hit OK, and it's going to go regardless of whether you use a LinkedIn or not.
First and
Yeah, Miss
last.
Sherry, right under the LinkedIn link, just type in a first name and then just click view, and it'll log you on.
Okay, thanks.
Let me. I want to make sure that you can see. Are you able? Right now, I have the delinquent and prepaid report on the screen.
Yeah, I see it now.
Okay, good. Yay! I'm so sorry. I know it's one of those when I'm always on this end of it, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I haven't seen it. So I'm so glad. Thank you. Thank you. Channing, was that you? No. Who was that helped us out so much?
Oh, Harrison.
Harrison.
Everyone
Okay.
always gets me confused with Channing. I don't know why.
Well, I there was only so many dudes, and so I was like, I knew you weren't a girl, and so I was like, okay, that's got to be him, but I failed. Sorry. Well, Harrison, thank you very, very much for helping. I appreciate that. Okay. Um, and the miscellaneous income. Okay, Alex, do you know someone off the top of your head who has? No, I do. Who was it? I looked at him this morning, and it was. No, it was a deposit. Okay. So
I think I know why. I mean, basically, when you guys use the miscellaneous income ledgers, which are basically anything that you would, any money that you receive from BYL, any money that you receive, maybe you get a vendor refund that you have to scan in, that's where those ledgers are. And those ledgers should never have a balance in them. Every once in a while, the online application fees account will have, a prepayment because somebody logged on and applied and money was posted, but they physically have not been turned into an applicant yet, and so the money is sitting there sort of waiting for you to turn them into an applicant before it can sort of do its thing and charge the application fee and move to and create an actual ledger. But for example, I do see there is something miscellaneous income for this particular property that's a deposit, and that has to do with the conversion. And I believe I've sent, I don't know if I've spoken with every property. There's a few properties where we've received some, money from the sale that's out there that we had to put as a deposit that needs to eventually go to a ledger, but we won't, we can talk about those individually because obviously that's not, part of the training, but I definitely want to touch base with the properties that this affects. I've kind of spoken to a couple to them about that, but anyway, the point is that those miscellaneous ledgers are basically to post cash that you've received for collections after the account's been closed, for like I said, vendor refunds, anything that's not related to a resident. And if you have money, then you have to charge something against that. And so the point is that you should have no balances in those accounts, because for whatever money you've received, you should have posted a charge and vice versa. You shouldn't be posting a charge if you haven't received money in those ledgers. So you want to make sure that when you go through your delinquent and prepaid report that there's nothing in those accounts. And I think, the report will show you, but you can look by simply looking at the miscellaneous income ledger. So you can see that that one right there has online application fees with a balance. And that's not necessarily wrong unless, of course, that person's been sitting there longer than 30 days. And we don't want that because we want them to be an applicant. That, once you create that account, it will move from there. So we just want to make sure that that's taken care of. And again, that's another one of we look at those as well, and we'll call you and ask you about it if it's sitting there longer than 30 days.
So if I pulled up, and this is our fake database, so nobody panic. I didn't do this to your live site. For this, and how I got here was the administration, other, and the miscellaneous income ledgers. And this, anytime there's not a zero, whether it has a credit or a balance, anytime there's not a zero in one of these, in this balance due prepaid column, it does have to be addressed. The online application fees is the only exception. That one, just let it ride. Don't even touch it. But this other, anything that is non-online, you can click show transactions, and essentially every transaction that goes in here has to have a partner. Each payment has to have a charge code. Each charge code has to have a payment. And the way you can identify who is causing this $200 balance is our magical open only checkbox. You can click that and it'll isolate just the transaction, whether it's a payment or a charge, that is causing that non-zero to occur. So in this case, it was a BYL charge, a bad debt recovery charge that we entered, but we forgot to put in the payment. And so, oh, no problem, I just forgot to put in that payment. And you can use the check scanner to scan to this miscellaneous income ledger. You just identify other miscellaneous income. So just each transaction has to have a partner. Each payment has to have a charge. Each charge has to have a payment. Full details on how to utilize the miscellaneous income ledger can be found in the Academy, which has kicked me out, I think. Yes. There is a instructional documentation in there that discusses miscellaneous income in full and how to utilize. There is, if a balance is on a miscellaneous income account, it will display on the delinquent and prepaid report at the top. And so we'll hit generate next to that one, which I thought I did. Generate. And generate again. And actually, while that's doing that, I will log back into the Academy after I remember what my password is. I'll just lift up my keyboard and check the Post-it note of all the passwords that are listed on there. Haha. Remember when everybody used to do that? Okay. And oh. Thought it was at the top.
Yeah.
Yes.
While you're looking for that, I just wanted to make you aware that myself and Burbank Commons, we were, they're not on the call, but I came in on the call late because the email was a little confusing. It stated that our training was going to be today from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's what it was told. However, the calendar, when we put it on the calendar, we noticed that it does say from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. I think Amy must have sent this to us to organize the schedule. But
oh, goodness.
She must be Eastern time because it says organizer created the meeting in the time zone Eastern time. And she typed, please schedule yourself to attend end of month training tomorrow, 12:30 from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. That's why I came in late, because I was waiting until 10. Then I saw your email that said you were starting the training at 9. So Burbank Commons is not on the call.
Oh goodness, you guys, you poor things. I am in Eastern and I believe Amy is as well. And I created the event but I know like I forwarded it to Scott and Christy and everybody who is on Central and um it, Microsoft Outlook is good 99% of the time about doing the conversion, the time zone conversion. But I wonder if between it being forwarded and forwarded and forwarded, if it kind of got like a Rubik's Cube where the more it got messed with, the more it messed up. So no problem at all. We actually have not gotten very far at all because I keep jibber jabbing. And so you haven't missed much. One is the good thing. The even better thing is I have been recording the call. So what you have missed, I will be able to provide to you later through video.
Okay.
All right, we got you. Um, And I know sometimes but thank you, Sherry, Miss Sherry, for letting me know. And if you would be so kind, maybe give Burbank Commons an email or poke them on Facebook or a Snapchat or something to let them know that we are in progress. If they could hop on, that would be awesome. If they can't, I totally understand. But if we could let them know, that'd be great. And I just can't because I don't want to stop what I'm doing. Okay, thank you. Um, so I know we were chatting about the miscellaneous income, and there was kind of a theoretical discussion of what it would look like, but I do think a picture is worth 1,000 words. So here is, I made it wrong in our fake database. So with the part of the end of month checklist where it discusses confirming the miscellaneous income ledgers have no delinquent and prepaid balances, that they have a whole bunch of zeros, that would display on the report. And my apologies, I said it was at the top of the report, but it looks like it's at the bottom after the current residents. Then it will have this non-unit and right before our waitlisted folks as well. And here we can see they have a total delinquent of 200. We should never, never, never see an other miscellaneous income account on this delinquency report, with the exception of an online application fees. That just means that there is money that's hasn't quite cleared to a person's account yet for lots of reasons that are long and boring. And if anybody ever wants to know, I'm happy to tell you. But so this one is okay. This one, not okay. It just means that we need to put a partner in with the amount, that we need to enter the check in with the amount, or we had entered in the check like this one, but not a charge. So that's that. And actually, I'll keep that up just in case we need it. All right. Alex, did I miss anything else, or was it just that? Did I accept Yeah, that's good, right?
Yeah, I think that was it.
Okay. Number 7, the resident summary balances report is on page 2 of the accounts receivable. So let's head over there. So reports. And then accounts receivable, page 2. While that loads, use default parameters with the exception of the first day of the month to the last day of the month. Let's do it. So resident summary balances, generate. And then the date range, first day of the month, last day of the month. All right, and then you would hit generate, and that's the only thing you would have to adjust. And after you hit generate, you would get this beautiful resident summary balances report that looks like this. And this one you kind of look at, and actually I'll make it smaller just so you can see. You look at it, you're like, whoa, rows, columns, like, but this is actually a very, very good report to review. And some of the items that you will want to review on this one is the totals should match the delinquent and prepaid report. So let's start off with that and jump all the way down to the bottom. So I'm going to hit Control End to jump to the bottom. And we have here our net, excuse me, our prepaid portion, excuse me, is 15,310.49, which that is going to be wrong from this number because I pulled this yesterday and we just fixed the one error. So you'll take this prepaid amount plug it into the prepaid area. Make sure it matches your prepaid up above. And then take the delinquent amount, plug it in here, and make sure that it matches up above. And yours will match. Ours does not because I corrected that issue and didn't rerun the report. So if those match, great. And initial away. Number 8. Verify totals on the resident deposit audit. So the resident deposit audit report, let me close out of that. The resident deposit audit report is found on page 2 as well. OneSite recently released a new version of it where you can run it in a clean Excel format. We love that. For the end of month purposes, you can generate just the PDF version by clicking generate in the standard one without the -Excel. The parameters, let's see what the report says. Use default parameters. That I can do. I like lazy. And you would hit just generate. The report that will appear is the resident deposit audit that looks like this. The resident deposit audit report is a fantastic report because it shows you each person, their status, their total required deposit, how much they have on hand, and if that was a unit deposit or a pet deposit. So it's a quick glance report to see a great snapshot of your deposit situation at the property. What your step will be in the process for this report is heading straight to the bottom of the report, control end, and review this outstanding deposit column. This should absolutely be 0. I highlighted this one because in this case it is not, but it's okay. This is it's easily fixed. So in this particular situation, since this is a non-zero, the next steps are going to be who is creating this balance. So you'll just scroll through and look for anything that's a non-zero in this outstanding deposit column. And this is where that Excel version comes in handy because you can just filter. So if once you come across an amount that is a non-zero, so here's 2. Kang has got $1,000 variance and Yang has a $800 variance. And what this means is, we'll stick with Kang here, is we had required $1,000, $1,159. But he has only paid 0, so he hasn't paid anything. So you also could have a situation where the deposit on hand is $1,000, but there's no required deposit. What these two means is, what that would mean is he paid an amount. We just hadn't put in a partner charge for that payment and say, hey, this payment needs a deposit partner. So easy fix for that one. You go into the deposit ledger and add the charge in. For this one, what this could mean is this is a totally legitimate variance. He was supposed to pay $1,000 and he hasn't yet. So that is one situation. The one I want to point out, I don't remember that. Here it is.
I think I have to fix sorry. I think that one that you're looking at, that's actually the part of the situation I was discussing with the deposits that we received from ACC. That's actually an error that needs fixed. And I'm going to probably have to look at those.
Okay. Okay.
But anyway, so yeah, but yeah, sorry, go on. I just wanted to make sure I just saw that.
No, you're so fine. Wow, that got really blurry and I don't know why. So thing. No, thank you for mentioning that. So for this particular person, I wanted to use him as an example. He had an $805 required deposit on his ledger, which looks like this. So here's $805 for his deposit has been booked on his deposit ledger. But he's only paid $210. $210 split from his resident account. So that gave him this $595 balance, this variance here. So
And you can see
this
that in the upper right-hand corner of the ledger. It says deposits still due.
right here. um, and Alex wanted, thank you so much for pointing that out. The reason why she wanted to point that out, because it is so important, that will appear if you're on the summary tab, if you're on the letters and notices tab, whatever tab you're on, that red, like, hey, he owes more money on his deposit account, will display there. So this is, thank you for pointing that out, is what causes this. So what does it mean? What do we do? How do we fix it? There could be a lot of different reasons. One, this could be legitimate. He might still owe this, remaining almost $600, and he just hasn't paid it yet. Hey, can I make payments on the deposit, or it's not due until move in? Or let's say he had the remaining amount just hasn't been scanned in yet. It should have, because it's in a month and you want to get all your checks in before in a month. But so it might be legitimate or it might be wrong. We thought we were going to charge him $805 for the deposit, but he applied during a special where it was reduced. And so we would just need to reduce this amount of the $805 to $210 if the 805 is incorrect. If the 805 is correct and he still owes more, leave it alone. So let's say that's the situation. And so on the end of month report, I would put Fang 1207B. 1207B, Fang owes $595 remaining, causing variance on, I forget the name of that column, outstanding deposit. Outstanding deposit column. Will collect next month. So if you hear nothing else I say about number 8, know that ideally outstanding deposit should be 0. But if it's not, just confirm why and document. If it's a totally valid reason, that's fine. Just mention why that variance is there, and the world would be copacetic after you put in the outstanding deposit balance there. 3,847. 3,847.
So let's say that in the situation that we just saw, that maybe originally he was supposed to pay 805, but then we gave him a special. Then in order to correct that issue, that's when you would go in and hit that change. You would edit the one that's already there, that required deposit, and then change it so that it's the correct amount, the 210 that's actually required of him. And then that would change the number and it would go away. You don't have to put any notes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Who wants to do that? Okay. Great point. Great point. I was going to pull up an example, but I think it's pretty good. If anybody needs an example, I can email you one. Number 9, confirm all payments, or Alex, I'm so sorry. Was that, did we get through everything that would be relevant?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. All right, number 9, confirm all payments have been recorded. And actually, I want to, before not anything specific to this, just to let you guys know, the end of month checklist, when you grab it off of the Academy, it does not have these form, like where I'm typing things in. If you have, depending on your Adobe version, you can add these in, or handwriting them in is totally acceptable as well. So whatever works for you guys works for. I just didn't want you to pull it up and not have these form options and think you had the wrong thing. You have the correct thing. I just geeked it up a little bit. So handwriting it is totally fine. And all right, number 9, confirm all payments have been recorded, and that's in our bank deposit summary report under the accounts receivable. That's the fake database. Let me go to the real one. Accounts receivable, and it is the bank deposit summary report. No. Yes, bank deposit summary report. For this one, we'll hit generate next to that report. What parameters do we need to use? We'll use the default parameters as the end of month checklist said. So we would just hit generate, and the report that would appear looks like this. So, wow, what am I looking at here? That's a lot of stuff. What we're looking at here is we want to make sure we want to review all manually entered payments if applicable. Manually entered payments may occur if for a particular reason a check won't scan. We've tried, we can't get it in to the scanner, or it is failing for one reason or the other, or money orders. Money orders are if um, money orders can be scanned, but you may have an instance where, gosh, I just had it happen the other day. I
In the
forget.
mix can be read.
Say it again.
I think so sometimes, and we've had this at certain properties, like there's a convenience store that a lot of the residents use, and their ink is really bad. Like it prints out very lightly. When you try to scan it, one-side payments just can't read the image. It's just not good enough to read, and sometimes you have to make a manual. Like you have to actually get it to the bank, kind of the way that we did for you guys that didn't have payments up for a while, obviously. This month is going to be really important for you guys because you're going to have a lot of manual payments that you're going to verify that Eric and B did correctly. But the example for Kim, I'm sorry, is that sometimes that happens where you have to take a batch of money orders to the bank and then enter them in manually, and so you'll get a deposit slip from the bank, and then you just want to confirm that the batch was entered for the correct amount. Otherwise, your accountant's going to call you and say, why did you enter this and it doesn't match what went to the bank? So I just want to.
Perfect.
I think for this month, you guys will definitely want to double check that. I believe the accountants have been doing that sort of in advance when you guys sent your spreadsheets in. Your accountant verified that information at the bank and then gave it to Eric. So Eric and B. So as long as they did their job, you should want to confirm that all those batches were entered exactly the way that the slips at the bank show. But why don't you go ahead and pull open the report again? I just can't. Right now I'm seeing there. Okay.
Yeah, I thought I would go to a different report, but then I realized this one was just as good, and I should have gone with my original. You should always go with your gut. So how do you know the difference between manual and the settled through the check scanner or through the resident portal? One of the easiest ways is by the bank deposit number, and the manual ones start with a 1001. The system cleared ones, whether it was batched automatically via the check scanner or the resident portal, those will always start with a 400 number, 401 in this case. So anything less than 400 is going to be a manual batch that you manually took to the bank or worked with your property accountant to somehow manually get entered into the system. 900 batches are correction batches. Doesn't mean anything's wrong. It could have just been an edit that occurred or an NSF that reversed out a batch or part of a batch.
Can you scroll up a little bit? Let's just look at the top sections there. So this report, and I can't really, this report has, go scroll to the right for me, please.
Of course.
Thank you.
And I can make it as long as that's still everybody can see.
A little bit further here. Okay. What you want to look at is the column called total bank deposit, because you're going to see these deposits are, each one is split between payments, security deposits, and a total bank deposit. So that column, the second one from the right, is the actual one that you should be verifying the total against. Because if you just do payments and it included a security deposit, you're not going to be looking at the overall total. You're only looking at part of the batch total. The batch total is actually that one that she has highlighted there. I just want to make sure that's clear.
Great point. Yes. I'm glad. I would have not mentioned that. Thank you. Okay. also on this report, is there anything else that would need to, I think we covered everything on this guy, right?
Hi, good morning, Miss Kim. This is Channing calling from the Cottages of Baton Rouge.
There you, not to be confused with Harrison, which I did earlier, and I apologize. But you both are very good looking.
Yeah, I just got on the call, and I think it actually blocked out Harrison because whenever I tried to call earlier, it said that the call was full. And question, was the call supposed to start at 9 or 10?
9, but
Okay, because it showed 10 for me in my calendar, so that's why I'm late.
no, and you are so fine. So the good news is, I have been recording the call, so I will be able to send it out. The part that you missed. The even better news is in no way, shape, or form does it show any kind of reflection. I have a feeling because I'm on Eastern and Amy is as well, so I feel like just between Microsoft Outlooks and forwarding, and I definitely feel it came to you in a wrong time format, so please accept my apologies for that. And know that I will make sure that you get the video relayed to you as soon as it's done. For Harrison, I am I'm just now seeing the chat that's occurring, and that's fine. If anyone, I have obviously the free version of Uber Conference. If anyone is in 2 offices within an office that might be able to combine, I thought my max was 30, and I love finding out that it's only 10. So if I let follow along the webinar and imagine if anybody can combine offices, that would be awesome. I would really, really appreciate it. If not, I don't know if in the middle of this I can upgrade it, nor have I had it approved on the budget, but so I have to owe someone chocolate. And I will send out the YouTube video as well. And that's really the only solution I have in this moment. And yeah, I can't think of anything else. So or yeah, I can't think of anything else. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm sorry.
Well, we have it recorded, so it's okay. I think we can probably just go ahead and we'll do our best for right now. And then just let's move on, and then we'll just try to, and like I said, because we have the video, at least we'll be able to provide this, and we can answer additional questions
Yeah.
after that.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, I did 8 plus 2. All right. And we covered everything on the bank deposit summary that would be applicable.
I think so. I think it's good to know that the bank deposit summary does have you're actually on it right now. At the bottom has any NSF activity that has been posted. So, it's something that you might just want to look at and see if that, make sure that you know that somebody NSF to check for the month, and that might help you with your collections. If you're not, if you haven't already been notified that happened. Once I just automatically post these into the system, but if you, like I said, it's always good to at least look down there and see who that might have been. And since we did a lot of manual deposits for you guys, we had to actually post this ourselves as the bank sent us notifications. And so I don't, you may not have seen a notification because it went to the accountant. But anyway, so yeah, that's it. So that's all I had.
Okay, no problem. And those, I know the system is new and we're still learning so much about it. And one of the best ways to see an SF did occur, or return check for whatever reason did occur, is if you don't have already the alerts and approvals snapshot on your today page, you are able to add it either through the customize link or adjusting the custom role that already is These are all predefined dashboard options with snapshots already there. And then if you have a returned check, that alert will show here in this alerts and approval snapshot. So you can notify the resident, hey, we got a return check and we need to rectify it. So that's one way that can be identified throughout the month. And then again, as Alex pointed out, the this last area here would confirm all the ones that came through in the current month. All right. And that, so for that one, we would put looks perfect. And this was, all right, number 10, review the monthly transaction summary. So this one is reports, accounts receivable, and monthly transaction summary. We're going to click generate. What parameters do we use? The end of month checklist tells us to use the default parameters. Love the lazy ones. We would just click generate. And then the beautiful report that would appear here is our monthly transaction summary. And I'll disclose to you guys a dirty secret. This is one of Alex's favorite reports, but I can't stand it. It's just way too many numbers for me. But that's why she loves it so much. So on this report, the first thing you would want to do is confirm the total monthly collections. So total monthly collections, which is down here somewhere. I think it's like on page 3 or something. I meant to highlight this one beforehand. Total monthly collections. Actually, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Sorry. And equals the net bank deposits from the bank deposit summary report. So we have that other report, and the total monthly collections. Let me just do it this way. Not that. Total monthly collections. There she is. 69 da 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 da. We want to make sure that this number matches the net bank deposits from the bank deposit summary report, which was the one we were just looking at. And that is our net bank deposit summary. So let me copy and paste that for extra lazy points. It's bank deposit summary. 69251.43. Not that. 695 blah 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 43. Perfect match. Love that. All right, so that is step number 1, is to confirm that those two do match and the variance should be 0. So letter I, match. And then II, for that one, we're going to review that report to verify the total current charges by category are accurate. So the categories, and Alex, if you want to take this one, that's up to you. Or I can just wander my way through it.
I think, you're looking at the summary at the top. The very first page, I think, is yeah. So this is a good report for you to look at to see, how much rent has been charged. This is kind of more of a common sense review. You want to make sure that this is everything that you charged for the month, employee credits that were granted, vacancy. You really want to look at this report just to make sure that you're not missing anything. So for example, if you charge utilities, you want to look at your utility charges. If you haven't, this is the place where you can see, oh, I haven't entered XYZ for the month. Maybe you were supposed to charge somebody something and it's not, you don't see it there. All of a sudden, maybe you did evict somebody, you were supposed to put attorney fees or something, and nothing happened for the month. So that middle column there tells you, everything that has happened. So we can see that, $779,000 in rent. There's the gain and loss calculations there, which again, you guys don't. That's kind of, these are system calculations, but anyway, you see $40,000 in utility charges for the month. Does that make sense? Is that kind of in trend with what you would expect to see? I think that's are the employee credits that were granted? Does that make sense? Is there something that may not be completely correct? And so I just want to that's kind of like a a good overview of everything to make sure that nothing major was missed and that nothing was overcharged, or maybe you were supposed to reverse something that was done before. Just those kind of things. That's what I would say that this report is for. That works very well, I think.
Where would miscellaneous income come from?
Ms. Sherry,
Well,
we did cover that.
Okay.
And we'll I'll make sure that when I send out, I'll make sure that the minute that we started that discussion is identified in the email for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't think we've actually covered miscellaneous income, because we talked about the miscellaneous income ledgers, but miscellaneous income, like the actual miscellaneous income charge, isn't the same thing, and that's always sort of confusing to people because, and I always think that the same thing with RealPage. They called the miscellaneous income ledgers are just simply the terminology used to post payments that are not related to a specific resident at the time. Like refunds, I don't know, vending, things like that. But it is kind of unusual to see 7,000 in miscellaneous income. So I think that shouldn't be something that's not normal, because we usually have a charge type. We used to use miscellaneous income to kind of post a charge to like a vendor refund, right? So let's say you got a refund from AT&T, maybe we overpaid something, and you scanned it into the miscellaneous income ledger. You're not really supposed to use miscellaneous income anymore. You're supposed to use a charge called reclass, and then you're supposed to type a description that says AT&T refund, reclass to 6910 or whatever your phone 7235, whatever your whatever we paid that bill to is, you're supposed to tell your accountant, and the accountant is going to reclassify that refund into the correct, to reduce your expense for it. So in general, you don't normally have miscellaneous income as a charge. That's sort of a rare situation.
Thank you for that. What's your name?
Yeah, Alex.
Okay, thanks so much, Alex. That really helps.
Sure.
I was hoping I could pull up the exact ledgers so we could see the difference between so we could see the difference between the miscellaneous income charge on a ledger versus the miscellaneous income ledger's utility. But this is the miscellaneous income ledger's utility, not to be confused with the miscellaneous income transaction code. And the miscellaneous income transaction code is what created the $7,000. The irony in this situation of just the way it worked out was all of these $7,000. So we've got the 7,100 more money, 10 cents, is what makes up this amount. But the irony is normally this would have a resident name here, but it's the miscellaneous income utility.
Yeah, and actually, that's also, I think that's an error. What I'm looking at there, we're going to have to fix that for cottages of Baton Rouge.
Yeah, here's what probably happened is he goes, well, this is somebody's rent, but I can't find the exact match to it. I'm just going to stick it here, which means that poor Channing has $7,000 in delinquency that he shouldn't.
And that's actually what Eric did, because I can tell what those numbers are, because I remember looking at those, and that's what he did. He just stuck them somewhere and didn't put them with an actual category. Just like I have someone that has a random deposit on their account, but there's no record of where it came from. So it's a little bit of searching I'll have to do also. So I'm going to have to reach out to Mr. Eric and figure out what he did and why it was done like that, because otherwise I won't be able to put my month.
Yeah, I think, well, what we want to do is we want to, for this particular instance, and some of you are going to have those because we didn't have a way of identifying ledger, the charge that he posted, all of those charges have to be reversed out. Because that's just money that needs to move to a ledger. And I think he posted the charges to sort of like get rid of the balance, but in essence, that's not really what we wanted to do. We wanted to just put the cash and then eventually just move it to the ledger out of where it's at right now. It's going to move from the miscellaneous income ledger to whoever it actually belongs to when we identify who that person is. And then like I said, there shouldn't be a charge associated with it. So that'll be on my list to review today for everybody, so that we can go ahead and start reversing those out if that's the case. And you'll want to look at any payments that he posted to that ledger. And I believe he was supposed to have written the name or whatever information was, he had on it. And we need to see if we can get those moved over, obviously, before month end, so that we don't have, again, $7,000 of money that's not credited to somebody's ledger.
Okay, so will I need to fix that, or will y'all assist in doing that?
We can definitely assist you guys in fixing those. So like I said, when we're off this call, I will run the reports for everybody, and I'll start identifying them and work with you guys and see if we can start moving them to where they belong.
Okay, awesome, because I know my entire spreadsheet that was given to Mr. Eric was complete in its entirety with an apartment number and everything, so I'm not for sure what the mix-up was,
Okay.
and kind of what happened, but I can always review that if someone needs extra assistance, and I can assist if I need to.
I'm going to need assistance. This is Sherry also, because there were some payments that I believe is posted to miscellaneous also.
Awesome, guys. That is perfect. We will absolutely make sure that you are provided the support that is needed for that, because I know it's a big one, and especially when you've never used that utility before and a system you've never used before. So we will absolutely make sure to get you guys squared away. I know Alex has contact information for you both, and for everyone, that it probably is affecting too. I do absolutely want to be respectful of everybody's time, and I do want to make sure that we stay, because even though I know now the hour that we were supposed to start is confusing, I did promise that we would only do an hour, and I don't. So I want to make sure that we keep moving along. As a compromise, at the end, we'll do all questions that you could possibly. I will stay here if it's 11 o'clock tonight. I'll stay here answering questions at the end, but we'll get through the checklist up front, and then we'll do this site specific or number specific questions all at once at the end, just so that way we can be respectful of everybody's time if they have hard outs as well. And that's when you go, Kim, I get it, and you've talked for 4 minutes, so now you can stop and move along. So I do want to move us on to the number 11, the scheduled billing forecast option, and that one is found on page 2. It kind of hides in the accounts receivable section, and that one is right here, our scheduled billing forecast. We'll generate that one, and so the parameters for that, you want to use the default parameters with the exception of the beginning transaction beginning date. It'll be the first day of next month. So next month is January. So January 1, 17. We're going to change that one and then hit generate. After we hit generate, we get this beautiful scheduled billing forecast that appears that looks like this. Up at the top is any resident who does not have scheduled billing scheduled for January. There might be a very valid reason. For instance, Brooke, maybe she's moving out in December, and we just haven't had a chance to mark her as a notice to vacate, and that's why she's still a current resident. That's a valid reason. Or in this instance, Renee Collins, we've got a -2 here, which would lead me to believe that she has rented 2 bedrooms, and each property will budget differently. Some will want this to show as a loss here, but her bedroom A might have 2 rents on it, or we might have bedroom A have the 1 rent and bedroom B have the other. So there might be a very valid reason why they have 0 rent up at the top. We just need to identify and make sure that it is correct. And so go through the zeros first, make sure that there are valid reasons why there are zeros. And then in addition to that, you'll also want to confirm any additional charges for accuracy, rent, concessions, utility, furniture, and go through all those again. Make sure pet rents are what they should be. And actually, good. I'm sorry for the flashy flashes there. Make sure utility is $40 if that's what it is, $30 for pet rent. So give it a good hearty one over, as I say. And then jump all the way to the end of the report. And at the bottom of the report, there are these codes, this summary that identifies the code totals for each. And if I can do this with, so here we've got, and it, from the columns at the top, we have January, February, March, April. So what this means is in January, for applicants, we have $8,000 scheduled to book. 8,000 in February, and same for utilities, 400 scheduled to book in January for applicants. But even further down, for current residents, we have $6,000 scheduled to book in January. So we'll want to make sure that that is correct as well. And then there are a few codes that we never want to see. Some of those codes are identified here. The no prorate cred is one. We want, if we ever see one here, we'll want to go into the ledger and adjust the ledger so that no prorate cred is removed. It is a system generated code and nothing that anybody did wrong or incorrectly. But when someone is scheduled to move out in a non-month last day of the month ending date, the system throw this silly code in there to adjust for the gain loss to lease. And we don't budget that way, so we don't want to see that code there. So we do need to just make a minor adjustment on the scheduled billing forecast. So the scheduled billing ends on the last day of the month, so there's no prorate. We absolutely can help further with that individually, and actually the lease concession offset tangible code, we don't want to see that one as well, and I don't see one there, rock on. So if we did come across that though, we would also want to go into the scheduled billing and remove that as well, remove that code. The reason why this one happens is because the code that should be used for scheduled billing when we're doing gift cards, I never recommend using gift cards as a concession tool or a promotional tool because they are a hot mess. But if you are ever to use gift cards, you do have to enter in this code into scheduled billing. The correct code is the lease concession offset code, which is very similar to lease concession offset tangible, which is the issuance code to use. And so what ends up happening is sometimes when entering this one, you hit the hyphen or a space and it pre-fills this incorrect issuance code in. So that's how that can occur. And so we want to make sure that one's not in scheduled billing. Same with the tangible lease concession. We do not want those codes listed on the report. This one is the issuance partner for this one. See how you're like, what is she talking about? Issuance, scheduled billing? You don't have to worry about any of that if you don't do gift cards. So just don't do gift cards and you'll never have to worry about these guys. And so once we've confirmed those codes are not here, or if they are here, making the adjustments on the scheduled billing, then we can initial those and say no codes. No invalid codes. And all correct, baby. And capitalize your last name. And then number 12. We're going to review the transaction detail by code report for tangible concessions. And again, if you don't do gift cards, this is an easy one because it's going to be a bunch of zeros. So this one can be a little tricky when we do the parameters. The transaction detail by code report is found on page 2, and it's all the way at the bottom. We've got this transaction detail by code. We're going to click generate. We're actually going to end up running this report twice for end of month. And the default parameters do need to be adjusted to do 2 different codes, one code for each time we run it. The first one we run is the PN tangible lease concession code. So we're like, okay, let me go isolate just the tangible lease concession code. And we come here and we're like, where are the codes? They're hidden. It's very silly. You have to do the select by and change the transaction transaction categories to transaction codes. Scroll down, 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 down until you find PN. I forgot. Tangible lease concession, which is PN tangible lease concession. Click it and hit select to move it to the selected codes area. And watch how silly this is. Once we've selected that one code, the all still stays there. So even though we've isolated, we just want to see this one code, we have to manually remove the all option or else it will still generate every single code. So click it to select it and then hit remove. And now we can hit generate. After we hit generate, this beautiful report will appear with nothing on it because they've done the right thing and chosen not to do gift cards. So the 0 will appear if in this case, since they have not done gift cards, but if you do gift cards, in some markets you can't get away without doing them. Oxford, Mississippi, I think you guys might have ended up being on the call as well. They have to do gift cards, just their market demands it. So if you do, then what you'll want to do is verify all tangible concessions in one site match your tangible concession referral form. What is a tangible concession referral form? The tangible concession referral form will be found on your SharePoint sites. And if you do any version of tangible concessions, and I keep saying gift cards, however, tangible concessions also refer to iPads, cruises, scooters, anything that you would put in a person's hand for moving in. There we go. What would be another option? iPads, cruises, Xboxes. I mean, anything that would be a tangible concession. In that form that the end of month checklist is referring to, this tangible concession referral form, each property will have one of those in their SharePoint site. You'll navigate to your specific site, and I'm pretty sure University Crossing has one. Oh, we don't. Okay. We'll see if 42 North does. Select your specific site, and then under the accounting documents, you'll select the appropriate year. And then the form is found here. If you end up doing tangible concessions, your property accountant will work with you fully, and there's a plethora of available Academy resources for how to utilize these forms. But know that the form is in your SharePoint site, and you will need to match it against the transaction detail by code report and verify that all the concessions were entered. So this report will need to match this form found here if you do gift cards. And if you don't, you want to check them just to make sure.
And since you guys are new, we don't have those forms are probably not there because we don't, you know what I mean? We'll have to download one for the Academy if you guys are using gift cards. Nobody has told me that you guys have used gift cards yet.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. I know that's
Resist
that's what we want the policy to be. But anyway, so just know that if for some reason you guys start using the gift cards, you'll have to download that form from the Academy to start it initially. But it's not going to be there right now. Basically, it's going to be in the Academy. If you were doing this for a property that is already existing, you have it out there. But since this is all brand new, then you're going to have to download it to use it for the first time.
Great point. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, great point. The second transaction detailed by code report has to be pulled that same exact way, but this time for the PP tangible referral. So we're going to generate that same report. Start by changing the drop down from transaction categories to transaction codes, and then scroll all the way down looking for the appropriate PP tangible referral. So select that, remove the all option, and then hit generate. After you hit generate, you'll get this beautiful report here that looks like this with a big fat zero, which it should, because you don't want to do gift cards. But if you did have an amount here, your next step on the checklist would be to verify that all tangible referrals entered matched your form. Again, the form will need to be downloaded if you do end up doing those, but if you are doing them, then they will be here on your SharePoint site, and this is what you would want to reference the report to as well. And looks good. All right, number 14. And let me actually close out all those. Number 14, confirm all lease concessions are entered on the scheduled billing correctly. So the best way to do this is grab 5 applicants' accounts, your top favorite. You want them to be different each month, and take a look at the future scheduled billing. So to do that, we are going to, and actually, let me go to a site that will have some applicants in there. And we're gonna do, so top 5, we'll see who. All right, so I'm gonna grab a name I can pronounce, Alicia, and view her account. We're gonna review her scheduled billing. And scheduled billing is found on the first page. For anyone who is an applicant or has not moved in yet, their scheduled billing is going to be hidden in this drop down on the right hand side under future. So we're going to change from current to future, and her scheduled billing shows $5.90 for rent, a $10 concession, and a $10 bedroom upcharge. So this might be she has a pool view or a particular unit that's close to the shuttle run, any of those. So how do we know this is correct? Well, best way to see is versus the lease, right? Versus what we promised them and they promised us. So to see the lease, you'll go to the Docs tab. If it was an online application, it will be under their packets for online leasing packet. If you had to do a paper lease, or in your guys' case, you're having to upload them manually and scan them from paper leases that you had done before, it would say an office leasing packet, and you'd have to add the office leasing packet. So we'll open her online leasing packet and look at the front page of the lease agreement, which she hasn't signed yet. But let's, and I can't even view it until she has signed. So let me find somebody better. My apologies. Let me do it this way. And I know we chatted about it with the with the Patan Rogue sites, that about how the time frame will work with the scanning in of the legacy leases. Okay, good. Here's a good one. Do I need to do it right now? Do I need to do it next week? I know we chatted about, how, when, and why we need to get those in. If the Tuscaloosa and I almost said the domain properties, but and the other properties need help with that, we absolutely can help. And this is Kyle. So I'm going to view Kyle's lease. Open. And here on his lease, it has, and I remember this is a different person than I opened originally, but it'd be a good example. If this was the person that we were looking at on their scheduled billing, we would know that something's not right, because on their scheduled billing, we had that premium charge and the concession, but there's no premium charge here. It's just the rent, the $5.90. So do we need to adjust their lease and correct their lease, or do we need to adjust their scheduled billing? So that is what you would complete times 5 on the end of month checklist number 14A. Then repeat the same process for a renewal and do it for 5 different people than you did the month before. So 10 in total, 5 applicants and 5 renewals. And if everything matches, you mark it off, be like, and then head over to number 13. All right. So 15, not to be confused with 13. So number 15, you'll complete an audit and update the tangible concession referral forms file if you are doing gift cards. You'll print that worksheet and the current month's worksheet. So this, I don't know how, Alex, should we, if they're not doing it, does anyone plan on doing gift cards? In the immediate future, yes, we have talked and we said we are going to do gift cards, or yes, we are doing gift cards.
I'm not doing gift cards unless I'm forced to.
Best answer ever. Like, and if somebody tries to force you into it, you have them klewis@campusadv.com.
So I think let me just, since nobody's using them, we don't necessarily have to go over it.
Right, I don't want to spend 30 minutes blowing people's mind if they're not going to use it.
Right.
You know?
Well,
okay.
I think the only thing I want to make sure that I do go over with the tangible concessions is if you do start using them, you will have to get the form, you will be logging them, and you're going to have to basically do this whole process, which is sort of cumbersome because it needs to, we have to control those, of course, I'm an accountant, so I'm going to say you have to have good internal controls to make sure that those gift cards are being properly accounted for and being given out and recorded in ledgers, et cetera, et cetera. But my big point, or what this checklist item basically says, is that you're going to, you're going to get a physical count of those gift cards that are sitting in your safe. When we say gift cards, but tangible concessions that are sitting in your safe, and somebody else has to basically sign off on it, right? So usually it's like the leasing manager will do the count, or the general manager will do the count, and somebody else verifies it. And then you also have to fill out the monthly activity information, the summary form, and basically you're going to be making sure that the file is updated in your SharePoint site. You're going to make sure that each month you print out that monthly worksheet and that it's signed with a physical count, and then you also are going to print the summary worksheet, have it signed and approved, and also, upload it. So that's what we want to make sure gets done. We're not going to go over like the whole process today, especially if you guys are not using them.
Right. This is the summary form that she was referring to, which I grabbed in the Academy under the tangible concession referral and gift card form. I hope you guys never have to see it.
Yeah. What I always tell people is the summary form, like I said, I'm going to just quickly say the summary form is verifying the, year-to-date information is accurate in inventory, and then the monthly form, the thing that's for the specific month, is verifying that everything that you entered happened and in one site, and you confirm that all those transaction reports that you ran match, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to make sure that there are two completely different things being verified there, and both are going to have to be done if you guys do the gift cards, everyone. Okay,
don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. The 16, last but absolutely not least, because we still have 1, 2, 3, 4 to go technically. You do want to complete these below steps, which do not necessarily, and Alex, thank you for that, which do not necessarily reflect in any report, but rather a few utilities. So the first one to do is confirm that all electronic invoices have been entered. And I just noticed a good handful of sites like cottages, you did not have your dashboard set up yet, so I need to get with one site and see where they be at with that. What this will refer to is you want to verify in your purchasing dashboard, so the purchasing tab and then the default sub tab is the dashboard. Here we have a whole bunch of zeros except for a pending credit memo, some voided invoices, which is fine, but most importantly, the the pending invoices, the summary of invoices, that there's zeros here. We don't ever want to see any at end of month. At end of month, we don't want any invoices pending review here. So this should be 0. So this we can identify, yes, we have verified there are 0 items pending there. So that's
We
done.
want the credit memos too, though, not just the invoices.
Yeah, I hadn't gotten there. Look, that's B. Simmer down.
Oh, sorry. I was like, well.
Baby steps here. I still need to get my GM to initial it. There you go. So the we have the now if that is a 0, or excuse me, if that's a non-zero, if there is an item to be reviewed, such as in the case of the credit memos, we just need to process them. They need to be processed through through purchasing, through the standard invoice entry process, the AP processing process, and to make that a 0. Same thing is true. And go ahead, go finish. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, sorry. So the way that the electronic invoices work is that, they're sent electronically and they sit there basically waiting for you guys to process them. And when you do, they move away from the dashboard and just move over to where all the other invoices that you guys normally would have entered. So we just want to make sure that they're not sitting there pending, that they've all been moved over into the area where the other invoices are that are going to transmit through the system when you guys advance the date.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes.
Anyway.
No, it's because and Alex brings up such a great point. The even though this is an electronic place that it sits, it is no different than if it were to sit in a bin on your desk. It just is in the computer rather than on your desk. So the same theory is there, and that's why we want to make sure all the invoices are processed before month end, whether they're pieces of paper or ones that came in electronically. And that's why it is so important, because we want to, otherwise, reclasses may have to occur, and so we want to make sure to get all the invoices entered in the month that they came in. And same thing with credit memos. So even though there is a 0 here, we do want to make sure that the review of the credit memos is identified. So this credit memo does require processing. To process, you would process this credit memo the same way as if it were a piece of paper that came in from Wilmar, and a paper credit memo from Wilmar. What will happen is RealPage has worked with particular vendors to receive invoices electronically. It won't be every vendor, but it's a good handful of vendors. And rather than you getting a paper invoice, and if this was your property, you would never ever get a paper credit memo for this credit memo for this 239. It just came in electronically, so you have to process it here through the system. There might be a very valid reason why this is sitting here. They might not have an invoice to enter this against. So it might sit here until they have another invoice from Wilmar. So that just does have to be addressed. And so ideally we want zeros there.
Well,
did I miss anything on that?
Yeah, you should still process that even if there's no invoice. It's still
just move it here to that
yeah,
guy.
Yeah, it has to be processed. You can't wait. You shouldn't wait for another invoice to come through, because there could have been one that already went through. Usually a credit memo is reversing something that already happened. So
yeah.
Okay.
No, that's good. That's good. Thank you. And then that once they process that one, it'll show here in this credit memo subtab. And the advance the purchasing date to the next period. Okay, so the purchasing date is this date here. Not to be confused with the property date up here. These two dates absolutely can be completely different, and they most likely will be. We always want the property date, this date at the top, to be matching the calendar, real life Mayan created, calendar date, because this is one of the triggers to keep your leasing reports up to date and accurate, and also to have late fees properly post on the resident portal and ledger so they can see their true late fees. Lots of different reasons we want this one to match the calendar date. This one, if it does, great. If it doesn't, and it's very valid where it might be behind. You may not want to transmit your invoices yet to One-Side Accounting, and when you advance the purchasing date, then it is the trigger for pushing the ready invoices to be transmitted. However, at end of month, you got to get those invoices in. They got to be transmitted. So we need this purchasing date to be advanced to the next period. So later today, if 42 North is doing their end of month today, this date will be January 1st, 2017, which the GM advanced, but December 30th will remain up here at top because the property accountant and the property accountant alone will advance this date to the next period. Always, ever. However, the purchasing date, this guy down here, the GM or appropriate person will be advancing the purchasing date to the next period, but not the property date. Kim, you just said the same thing like 3 different ways. Yeah, I know. I'm going to do it one more time. You will never ever advance the property date to the next period. You might have to do it throughout the month. You advance from the 16th to the 17th of December. That's fine. But the next period, no. The property accountant will take care of the property date advancing to the next period. But the property will do the purchasing date to the next period. And that is identified here. Why did I say that so many times the same way? Because I get yelled at a lot if the property advances the property date. So please, I don't like getting yelled at.
Well, they don't have the permissions actually to advance it past the period.
They're not supposed to, but sometimes it seems to happen. But
Well,
okay.
things happens with conversions with when we have the void period issue. But anyway, but I think that when you guys reach the end of the month, we take care of closing the books, and then once we advance past the date, you can never ever go back. There's no back season in One-Side. Once you advance date, it's there. There's nothing you can do to bring it back.
Ever. The letter D, and thank you, Alex. Thank you. Letter D relates specifically to an hour and 56 minutes ago when we did number 1 and number 2, the pending tasks reports at the top. So it does it is that important. We do start and end the end of month referring to the pending tasks report. And once you've completed all of this, then you will scan and upload or save if you make a form out of it to SharePoint, to your SharePoint site. And where is there it is. The SharePoint site is going to be your property specific SharePoint site, the current year, the relevant month, and then you will upload it to the relevant month to that year. Work with your property accountant to confirm there's no additional notification or what the additional notification should be. Some accountants are fine with just an email. Some may prefer a fax. The policy in the academy is open-ended to the exact relay notification. So work with your property accountant on that, and that's where it'll scan and upload to. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the most elaborate end of month training I've ever done in my entire life, but it does also conclude 16 items and 5 pages. It is done monthly. How do you know when you do it each month? Typically, the property accountant will identify the date. So for example, this month we had the last day of the month fall on a weekend. Do you have to come in on Sunday and do end of month? No. No. I paused for effect just to make you for fun. But the property accountant will adjust your calendar to work with you on the day that it is due. Pre-close is due by noon. the dates will show here, and where the heck I am is I went to SharePoint and then the property specific site. The calendar is the first thing that pops up in the property specific site, and all of the relevant dates are here. Your variance analysis, and then any adjustments that are made for the day will reflect here as well. Should reflect here as well. But um, so
I
that
think
is.
I think this is where I wanted to jump in for the month end
I want
process,
you to.
basically.
Yeah, do
Yeah.
it.
So, so here's why I'm here. Besides just sitting here needling at Kim while she's trying to treat you guys. We have a monthly calendar. Your accountant is responsible for maintaining that calendar, and like Kim said, they're going to come in and they're going to, put dates of when things are due, when you should expect things back from us as we do reporting. And there's definitely, we have GMs and AGMs on the call, so some of these deadlines are strictly for the general manager, and others are, related to things that the AGM might be doing. So, for simple purposes, basically, end of month and pre-close deadlines are mostly AGMs that, are doing those checklists. And, obviously the general manager is reviewing the information clearly. But basically, those are going to be your deadlines to make sure that those checklists for pre-close and end of month are submitted by the dates that are on the calendar. The other dates have to do with the monthly financial reporting process. And so you want to go ahead and look at that calendar and make sure that you know when you're going to be expecting preliminaries from your accountant, when you're supposed to submit accruals and reclassifications, when you're going to get your finals back from them, when your executive summary and your variance analysis are due. Your finals that have to go to the client are all on the 13th of the month. So we're, it's kind of a shorter deadline than most, but that's basically all contract driven. So we're going to put prelims out to you as quickly and as humanly possible. This month is going to be a little bit more painful for us because it is a short month. We're losing a day. It fell on the 31st. There's just multiple reasons why, this one's a little bit shorter, unfortunately. But you're going to see a set of you're going to close your books. We're going to take over. We're going to do our end of month checklist. We're going to lock you out of the system when we're done with our, while we're doing our end of month list. And typically it takes us we have about 24 hours that we have to basically turn everything back around to you. So once you submit your checklist, you are out of the system. Your site, all your people should be out of the system and should not be going back in there to do anything until your property accountant tells you that you can go back in again. So we'll do our checklist. We'll close the books. We'll advance you into the next period, and you'll get an email notification from your property accountant saying, hey, congratulations. You can go back in the system. You can start working, for the following month. I know that some of the accountants are planning on doing some of these on Sunday, sadly, because we are on a short time frame, and so they do want to try and get this done. So it's just, they're going to work as hard as possible to get this done for you guys so that we can get you back in the system as quickly as possible. But just keep in mind that, each accountant has an average of 6 properties. So they usually go in the order that they receive them. So who comes first, whoever submits their list first is usually the first one they start working on. And so they'll do their checklist and they'll get back, they'll turn it around back to you guys and you guys can start, your period again. Then you're going to get a set of preliminary financials through the variance analysis portal link. So you're going to see some automated emails that are going to come through that say variance analysis is ready to begin. But even though it says variance analysis, what that means, there's going to be a personal note from the accountant that says your preliminaries are ready. Please submit accruals and reclassifications by, XYZ date. They usually say it in the email, but it's also on your calendar. Then you guys submit those on that same place where the accounting, month is. It's kind of like the working folder for the month for all financial reporting. So all your checklists are loaded there. And so are your, So are the preliminary numbers and variance analysis and executive summary. All of that is kind of like your working folder so that we can do the reporting for the month for the client. So, excuse me. So once the accountant, does the accruals and reclassifications, they'll do a final set of books. They'll send another variance analysis, automated message, and you'll see, okay, you guys can do your executive summary and your variance analysis and submit it to SharePoint so that not really SharePoint, but you submit the variance analysis on through the portal. You do your executive summary to SharePoint, and the regional, you need to notify your regional to make sure that that's done, and they're, that they've approved it and they've reviewed it, and then the regional will approve it, and the accountant will then use it for the monthly financial reporting. If you haven't received passwords for the variance analysis portal, please send me an email. Everybody who's a GM will have access to the variance analysis portal, not the AGM. If you do not have a general manager right now, then the regional manager is going to be the person that has to do the variance analysis that's submitted. The executive summary report that we're supposed to fill out, there's a template. The academy has the template. I don't know, your regional manager should be able to kind of walk you through what needs to be done on the executive summary, but we have a standard format. It's out there, and this is going to be for you guys the first time we create one, so you're going to have to download that form to sort of get it started. But it has a layout of what you're supposed to have in there. It has an example of one, and the actual form itself is in the academy. So you can look at the example, which basically says this is what it should look like, and then you'll actually, so then you'll download the form, and then you'll complete it and follow the instructions, from your accountant. So I think that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about as far as month end. I know that Carrie Mahoney, one of our accounting supervisors, had sent out an email to your team to sort of try to go over the monthly reporting process in a little bit more detail. And I don't know how that's going with getting set up to discuss it with all of you guys, but I was hoping to just sort of explain the basic process. And I think that's pretty much it. I think the only other deadline that's in that calendar that we haven't touched about are things that are relating to completing monthly write-offs, which you do around the pre-close time. So at this point, obviously this is our first month. We didn't really do any write-offs, but that might come into play, next month. So keep that in mind. We do have a process, obviously, for that, and I'm sure that your regional and we'll go over, obviously, how we submit. You've already done training on how you do collections, et cetera. But anyway, I just want to make sure that that there's also a deadline in there somewhere about the monthly write-off submittals as well. So anyway, I think that's all I had as far as the monthly reporting process, because I knew that we were just going to have a little bit of time to sort of go over the basic things that are going to happen there, and then you can work with your property accountant on a little bit more detail, obviously, relating to it. I think, Kim, do we now want to, is that the last of what we need and we can go for questions now, or what do you think?
I think what you think is what I think. No, I absolutely am ready and willing and able for questions, and I'm trying to think of the most chaotic way to do it. The only thing I can think is fire when ready. Whoever wants to go first.
Okay, here's my question. I do not have a GM. I will no longer have an associate GM as of today. My regional is back on the 9th. And I have new people coming in on the 4th or 3rd of January on the day of closeout. What is your best advice for me?
Kenny, what's your title? Are you a GM?
I'm the bookkeeper for the property, but I'm doing all kinds of other stuff too.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to make sure that everything I can do, it will be done. I just don't know if I need anyone else to assist since there's just me.
Well, I think that right now, what your next responsibility is just to make sure that you do your end of month checklist.
Okay.
So take care of, the checklist, submit
Okay.
that to your accountant, email them, and Kim, we actually don't have a fax here. I mean, we do have a fax, but we don't normally do things by fax. So we don't even, every accountant will tell you, email me when your checklist is up. Yeah, I know. I just want to make sure everybody's.
I just have to defend myself from the antiquated technology comment.
Yeah. So we just you can definitely, when you're done with your checklist, you email your accountant, let them know, and just make sure that your personnel are aware that they're not supposed to be working once you've submitted that checklist. So, whether that's through an email or whether you talk to them, however, I don't know, your exact setup for your property, but as soon as that checklist is submitted, no more working in the system. So submit that and then just stay out of the system and then wait for your property accountant to let you know. And you'll know, they'll lock you out, so you won't be able to get in eventually. And you'll see it locked. What I want to make sure is that you don't get back in if you see that it's not locked anymore, because if the date is still on the 31st of the month, they're not done yet. Because there's a little window there where we, sometimes we have to reopen the books, reclose it, because maybe we saw something we needed fixed. They come to me, I fix it, et cetera, et cetera. We kind of, it's a process, right? So if you go in, even if you see them on the 1st, if you haven't received a notification, don't, because that means that we're not done yet. We have a couple of more steps that we have to do to make sure everything is transmitted. And so just wait to get the notification from your accountant. And they're really good about, they want you back in the system as quickly as possible. So I promise you, they're not going to, they're not going to forget to email you and let you know. But I think that if anybody does not have a GM right now, and they're doing the checklist, just make sure that you let your accountant know that that's the case when you email them and give them your checklist. Because then the accountant will know that they need to contact the regional to start working on financials, and they'll also email you instead of they'll know to email you to let you know that you can get back in the system.
Great question. Great question. Does that answer the question, Channing, in full?
Yes, ma'am, it did.
Awesome. Awesome.
And if your regional is on PTO right now, we will communicate with the VP instead. So, we'll go to Christy Shorter if one of your regionals isn't here and we need someone to work on financials. They'll probably have somebody help, or they'll probably do it themselves depending on, what the situation is.
What's another question?
Well, I have the same question. This is Sherry at University Crest, and I'm in the same scenario. So that answered my question. I now need to know, as far as one site, do we have anybody that is specifically in for our property to assist us with something we cannot operate in one site? I'm having a few issues, and I can't get any assistance through the tech support right now. My question hasn't been answered, and I can't advance my date. So is there anyone that's specifically designated for a property? For instance?
Great question, and I'll take this one and take the bust for it. So the entire department that maintains the systems is 2 people, myself and Mackenzie Sargent. We are very fortunate enough to get a small handful of hours from a designated floater. Her name is B. Parker, and then Eric Steckloff, occasionally, who some of you have worked with, is helping us a little amount as well. They have both been on vacation, and Mackenzie Sargent was focused on getting out everyone's resident portal and online leasing this week. We felt that was a priority, and so there has only been one person maintaining that support queue, myself. And you are amongst, I think the last time I looked, 153 other support requests that I had to get to. So no, there is not one person. You are doing the best route by emailing support@campusadv.com. And I know you guys hired when you kept emailing me yesterday about the question. I know you were getting annoyed with me referring you to the support queue, but it is very similar to the deli line at the grocery store. You know, if everybody picks a number, you know, they've kind of got to wait their turn until I can get to them. And the email is like going up to the counter and just, you know, shouting at the guy. That's the best example I can think of. So I promise, I absolutely promise I am trying to get to everyone. It's just me right now. And Mackenzie's on vacation now, so it's literally just me.
And I'm more than happy to help if you guys are running into something that maybe, like, you know, your accountants will help you in whatever they can, and if they can't, they usually ask me. So you can also reach out to your property accountant specifically if you're having, you know, something that maybe you can't figure out as well. I just want to make sure that we're also, I mean, I know the system pretty well, so I'm usually able to sort of fill in the gaps if there's just something that, you know, is a problem that I can fix. And I would certainly do that if possible.
And I promise I'm not just trying for sympathy, just like an understand. And like right now, we've been doing this for 2 hours, which is needed. It's necessary. You guys didn't know what you were doing, you know, and how could you have, you know, because you know, it's the first time and you've never seen the system before, nor these reports. So we had to do this. But these are 2 hours that I have, you know, the support requests have just been sitting there. So the moral of the story is I want you to know you are not being ignored. Everyone is being ignored. So so know that I'm absolutely doing my best, but if it's something the property accountant might be able to help out with the time, feel free to grab them too. And no, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
The and I thought but Miss Sherry, does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. And it sounded like there was someone else who had a question too when we started that.
Hey, yeah, this is Ellie from Grindstone.
Ellie.
Hi, I have 2 questions. One is a little bit more property specific. The first one is, I noticed when we were on number 4, the gain loss to lease, I noticed that on that report, the market rent that's input for my property is actually the 2017 prices, and so it's making it look like we're having quite a bit of a greater loss than we actually are, but I also thought that might be on purpose. Do you know if it's supposed to be showing the fall 2017 prices in market rent?
That is a fantastic question. No, the system's set up now. Your regional manager is able to change the market rate, and there should always actually not let me. What do they say? Only Sith speak in absolutes. The majority of the time, there should be 2 separate market rate setups. One for the current that is 100% reflective of the approved budget. So and I don't think you guys have approved budgets yet, but once you have an approved budget, there is a market rate that was set for, you know, December 2016. And this market rate should say, you know, we got you guys in November. So from November until, you know, until the market rate changes for that period. And then there's a future time, and this guy's going to be all over the place. You know, this is going to be, you know, whatever YieldStar has determined at the time for your rates. This guy has changed all the time. So what do we have here? 775 and 784. So this 784 is your new rate?
Yes.
Okay. So the regional managers do control the market rates. Who's yours, Scott Sedgwick? I think he's on vacation too. So for that, we will, how do we correct? This is
So I think that
causing.
So I think that what we need to do is make sure that you let your regional manager know that. And if they're wrong for this month, I think we probably need to I might need to talk to Chrissy about those rates if we have to. Do me a favor, just email your regional if you think that your market rents are set incorrectly, and copy me. And then we'll see, I'll try to make sure that if the regional's not able to respond, that I will take it up with Chrissy before we close you guys out. That'll be on my list to do today.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I'll do that. And then my other question, I wrote it down next to number 7, but I had noticed it a couple times before. So sometimes it's saying to set the parameters for the first day of the month to the last day of the month. Is that the calendar month or more like the fiscal month, like the period we're doing? Because right now our period actually started November 15th.
That's a very good point. Yes, we actually went to fiscal month because I would, for you guys, this particular month, unfortunately, because we do have a longer month, you're going to want to make all your dates starting the, I think, is it the 15th, Kim?
Well, I don't think they won't ever have that happen again, right?
Yeah, it won't happen again. But
So I would provide 2 answers, one for this month and one for every other scenario they're ever going to come across in the next million years.
Right. So for this month, you guys will start with the 14th or the 15th, I think is the first day. And then going forward, it's always going to be the first to the last day of the month.
Right. Well, I mean, even say like the 31st is on a weekend again, and then we end up doing the end of month on like the 2nd or the 3rd, like we're doing this time. So we would also then want the end date to be the 2nd or the 3rd, right?
No, because your property dates are driving the reports. So if your even if you're doing end of month on the 2nd, your property date is still going to be sitting on the 31st.
Okay.
So it's always the last, whatever date that you're on, that's the final day of the month. That's the date you need to select.
Okay, so basically when we come in on Tuesday on the 3rd and are doing end of month, we're keeping our calendar date as the 31st.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great question. Great question. I'm going to send all these out to everybody too.
Do we have anything else? It's silent. I don't know. We talk a lot.
Hi, this is Yuri. I came in late to the training, and this is just a question. This may have already been answered, but when we come to work on the 3rd, any payments that we receive for like actual January that we receive for like, the 1st or the 2nd, are we able to go ahead and process those, or should we hold those until after we close?
If the checks are dated the 1st, you'll want to wait. I think we want to make sure that we don't scan them into the 31st when they're really not supposed to be scanned yet.
Got it.
But we would not want to take post-dated checks normally? Or everybody gets the Dropbox. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Like it may have just come in like that,
Yeah.
So I think we just want to make sure if it's dated, in the current month, feel free to scan and as long as you get it done before, the checklist is due, that's fine.
Okay, so here's my question to follow up with Yuri's question. If we receive the payments because we're off Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, I know we closed out on the 3rd. So our advance date will be only to the 31st whenever we close out. All the checks we received from the 1st and the 2nd and the 3rd, can we process those after our month-end close has been closed out and right after we advance our date from the 31st to the 1st, where we can post those checks that we did receive from the weekend on the 1st in one site? Would that be correct?
Yeah. If they're dated before the 31st and you're still, so for example, if you get a check today dated, or whatever, if you get it over the weekend, it's dated 31. Come Monday, come in, scan it, get it, get it in the system, and then do your checklist.
Okay.
And then if it's dated in the January period, just wait until you actually close the period and then scan it after your accountant lets you know that you can put it back in.
Love it. You guys are awesome.
I'm going to try to do a pre-close today. Will y'all both be available if I have questions? And if so, what's the best method of contact? Because I need to do this so it's not screwed up on Tuesday.
I'm available for you guys. I basically, when it comes to month end, I'm always like that. That's what I spend all day doing, is helping people with like questions that have to do with month end. So your accountant can help you as well, but because your accountants are new, a lot of them will ask me. So I'm definitely available to you guys all day today if you have help, if you need help.
What is your direct line number, please?
It is 512-579-5439, and there is a corporate directory on SharePoint,
Okay, awesome.
and I'm in it as well.
Okay, awesome. I really, really do appreciate that.
Of course.
I had your pretty picture pulled up a second ago, Alex, and now it's just sitting here staring at me. I don't know. What additional questions did we have?
It's not referring to the actual slideshow, but it is referring to when will the, I guess, video or YouTube slideshow be sent out to us, the ones that unfortunately we're not able to make it in the current time?
Great question. Which was not your fault. I blame Microsoft because it has no face and it can't argue back. So I am. The moment we end, I will save it. It's gonna be a pretty big file. So I'm trying to decide if YouTube will let me or if I want to get in through the Academy. I'll try to get it turned around as soon as possible. But today, can I don't want to say within an hour just because it is technology and it might decide to fight me, but as soon as possible, within just a couple of hours.
Oh no, you're fine. If you could just send us out an email, that would be great because I'm actually having to go furnish a 5-bedroom corporate unit, so I will be in and out of the office all day long too. So if you just send me an email, that would be great.
Yes, I can absolutely do that. No problem.
Oh, thank you so much.
Sure. My pleasure. That sounds like fun. Are you going to IKEA, Pier 1, Target, all the above?
Oh no, I've already done all the shopping last night for it. Now I'm just having to wash everything and put everything up and all that other fun jazz while I have carpet cleanings done, furniture being brought in. Yeah.
Fun. That's awesome.
Yeah, somewhat.
Oh. No, that's a great question. I will turn it around as quickly as I can, but I will be limited to the upload time of my fantastic internet connection and the download time from it rendering. But great question. Did we cover every question everybody had? And tell Harrison I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh.
I think most of the questions that we're probably going to end up having is whenever we're actually hands-on doing the pre-month-end close or the month-end close itself, because every property is different and every situation is different, so you never know what you're really going to encounter until you're actually physically digging into it, and you're like, oh, I don't know what this is. Let me call somebody.
Well, definitely, as that comes up, as Alex mentioned, each property accountant on average has 6 properties, where right now I'm supporting all 45 of them. So if you want to go to support@campusadv.com, that's always by default the primary place that I refer folks to. But the property accountant in this case, because it is so time sensitive, may be a better option, but just also giving them the allowance too that most of them are new. I think everyone on the call, I think all their property accountants are new as well. So, um, uh, um, but 'tis the Christmas spirit, right? So uh, if we it covered everyone's questions except the specific ones that come up. Thank you guys so much for attending this, and I know that we said it would be an hour, so I appreciate you staying with us and working through this together. And don't worry, 2, 3, 4 months down the road, you'll do this and it'll be like second nature. And I know you guys are going to be so successful at it, and it'll but know that in those months until you do feel totally comfortable with it, you do have a support team in the management systems team, your property accountant, and then of course Alex as well. And so feel free to reach out to us. And thank you guys so much, and Happy New Year.